We are going live. Here we are.
And we are selling sea monkeys and grit.
No, we're not selling sea monkeys. We're selling sea horses.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you want to send us your lyrics, we'll get them published. Totally serious.
I just got the facsimile edition to Amazing Spider-Man #1, and I'm reading him the ads that are in it just because I've never seen the ads. There are an amazing number of stamp ads where you want to buy stamps. They're all you go. There's at least like half a dozen, if not a dozen, stamp ads on this page, plus three places you can send your poems or songs and get them made into published songs. Yeah, it's got to be a scam. And a personal radio we can't figure out how it works. The personal radio that works with no batteries and no electricity. The only thing I can think of is I know they had something called crystal radios. Good evening, Tit Goblin. And the crystal radio used a physical crystal to tune in the station. And I don't think there was any electricity needed for the crystal.
No, it's like those watches that work with kinetic energy.
Yeah.
But those aren't cheap.
No.
So I don't imagine that they use it in a radio that would be advertised in a comic book.
Yeah, strange. I wonder what that was. Play guitar in 7 days or your money back. I think I'm going to need my money back. 1,000 tricks, 25 cents. You can become I just got a message from Chris Geruso. He'll be there. He'll be here around 7-ish.
Mm-hmm. Chris did not go to NYCC.
Nope, he's still in North Carolina. Wilson is at New York Comic Con tonight. And then at the Abbey Tavern, there's a old Marvel get-together, an old Marvel hand get-together. If I was in town, I'd go to it, but I'm not in town, so. And I just kind of let the New York Comic Con slip by me this year without even thinking about it. I think last year I was actually going to go, and I applied for a pro pass and got accepted for a pro pass. But then I had to pay for it, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to go. Because even the pro pass wasn't cheap even. And then I ended up, and then this year I just kind of paid no attention to the New York Comic Con. I don't know why. But I haven't been to one in a few years, since before COVID. So it was like, I just kind of let it go by. And now I'm like, oh, well. It's one of those things where I'd like to go, but I don't want to go. Oh, yeah. R.I.P. Kim Jong-gi. I saw that. There were actually 2 sudden deaths of fairly young comic book people this way. Do you know who that is? Have you seen his stuff before?
No, I had not heard of him before they announced his death, and I was like, "Is this one of those artists that all the professionals like?"
I don't actually know any comic books he's done, but he's always on viral videos drawing because he does these large, elaborate drawings, often with superheroes in them, that he just kind of draws. With no in ink, with no sketching, with no pre-drawing. It's kind of performance drawing. And he does a really good job with it. I mean, he just elaborate, intricate figures all over the place. And like that, I know him from those videos, but I guess he does Comic Cons too. I don't know what actual comic book work he's done. But he's certainly been around for a few years. I've known of him from these videos that have gone viral. And I remember reading. I don't think he works in comics, but his sketchbooks are all over the place. Yeah, because he draws, Batman and Spider-Man, whoever, in these big elaborate drawings and historical. He just kind of it's kind of a surrealist automatic drawing method, only performance, because he'll just go from one figure from the next, connecting them all. It's really, really fun to see him work, and it's really kind of elaborate too.
Mm-hmm.
But they said he just was coming from a show, and I don't know if he's Korean American, European. I don't know where he's from.
Yeah, a lot of Europeans put up tributes in Instagram.
Yeah,
so
I know he was coming from Europe. And his name is Korean, but I don't know if he's from Korea or not, or from someplace else. I don't know that much about him besides having watched his videos. Well, they said he was coming back he's South Korean. Okay. They got a big comic industry in South Korea, so I know that. But he was coming back from Europe. He was flying to New York City Comic-Con, and before he got on the plane, he had chest pains. They rushed him into surgery, and he didn't make it through the surgery. It's like, whoa. That's kind of shocking. And he was only 47. Good evening, Comic Crack. And the other guy that died at only 48 was a guy named Drew Ford, who I didn't know.
Yeah.
But
I knew who he was. Yeah, he owned that boutique publishing biz. It's Alive Press.
Hold on, I wrote it down. Yeah.
Yeah, and he
It's
had published
Press.
Yeah, he had published an Aztec Ace collection and a couple of other.
And when he was with, he was with Dover before he was on his own, and he was the editor. He published Puma Blues,
Yeah,
and also the Sam Glasman ones.
Yeah, he had the rights to all the Sam Glasman stuff.
Yeah,
it's still here on the website.
He kind of specialized in finding old out of print good stuff and bringing it back into print. Good evening, Graphic Man. But yeah, he's another one. And they said it was. I was just reading. It was COVID that got him. Pneumonia from COVID, and I was just because his wife started a GoFundMe. She's from Japan. You can find a GoFundMe from his wife there from Japan, and he was actually out driving, running an errand, and died in the car. Oh, actually, he didn't die. He was still.
Who's calling?
Who's calling you?
I'll have to check this out. I'm waiting for some job ads, but at 11 p.m.
That seems an odd time. But anyway, he Drew Ford. He had COVID and got pneumonia from it, and he died because he was driving his car to do some errands, and his lungs couldn't get his brain enough oxygen. Right. I knew him from I'd heard his name around the industry. I think I can't remember where, but probably I bought Puma Blues. I bought the Sam Glasman Name of the Ship one, which I can't remember right now. So I bought both of those, so I knew his name. But he was 48, and Kim Jong-gi was 47. So I was like, whoa. Couple of sudden deaths in the comic book industry by young people. That was, or at least youngish, middle age, not quite near dropping dead age. But Drew Ford's wife said that he was actually at some point that they brought him to the hospital, but his brain had for 20 minutes been without oxygen, so he was brain dead. And they kept him alive so they could, so that other people could have his organs. But he died in the car from. Imagine that your own lungs can't get enough oxygen to your brain. That's crazy. That is just nuts to think about that. You're sitting there suffocating in air. It's like, whoa, COVID is nasty. Unlike Spider-Man, who's not nasty at all. You could, if you bought this first issue of Spider-Man, you could sell grit. Oh, you could sell shoes too. I don't think these shoe ads were around for very long. I remember seeing them in early stuff, but I heard people. Yeah, there's they kept his booth open at New York City Comic Con, and people are dropping off stuff there. And also, they wanted there's an email address where you can email drawings of flowers to his family. And they're like, even if you're not an artist and can't draw flowers, email them some flowers. So you can look that up. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Oh, there's an email address out there if you want to email. It was Kim Jong-ji because he liked flowers, and email him some drawings of flowers to his family. But wow, yeah, it's always surprised. It's not a surprise to hear, the older guys dying off, but like younger guys, it's like, whoa, a little bit of a surprise. And the other facsimile edition I got this week, which wasn't on my pull list, I must have missed it, but they've got a Superman #1. And I didn't realize how much of this was reprint.
Yeah, they reprinted the story from Action Comics #1 and something else as well.
The Action Comics and the continuation of the story from Action Comics #2.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some new but then I was like, I'm gonna have to look up how much of this was because I don't even know. Because it was like at least the first 2 stories were reprints from Action Comics. Like Action Comics #1 ended with a cliffhanger, and then they continue the cliffhanger. So that must be from Action Comics #2. And then there's just some more stuff. A Superman exclamation, and they already changed the origin a little bit in this issue because they have new pages along with the old pages from Action Comics #1.
Yeah, so they reprinted the origin sequence with the ship and landing on Earth. So it's the first 2 pages are a reprint.
But even this stuff here, the story with him saving a person from the electric chair, anything you can tell because the style is different too. In Action Comics #1, he was doing this dark cross hatching. Oh, like there's an Action Comics #1 page. You see all that dark hatching?
Mm-hmm.
That's not in like here's a new page. That hatching isn't in it. So they're actually reprinting the whole story where he saved the guy from the electric chair. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, this whole story is from Action Comics #1, including the lifting the car sequence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's actually the origin part that's new.
Yeah. The couple of pages, like the splash page, is new.
Yeah. And the next page is new. After that, it's reprints. And the tell is if Superman's wearing red boots, it's new. If he's wearing blue boots, it's reprint.
Ah, okay. So there he is in blue boots. So there's another reprint. So I never realized before that this had so many reprints in it. Because Action Comics #1 always got reprinted a lot. Yeah, blue boots. There's a story with him as a football player in it. He doesn't have his Superman outfit on. He's got a football outfit. But at the beginning of it, he's got blue boots. All this stuff must be from Action Comics #1. Action Comics series. Wow, I did not realize that.
No, so the Grand Comics database tells the first 2 pages, 2-page origin of Superman. Okay, this is the first version of the origin that mentions Krypton and his foster parents. So then the next 4 pages, Clark Kent gets a job. That's new. Superman wears red boots.
Yep, there we go. Then we switch back to the blue boots.
Yeah, then we have the coming of Superman. So that part's a reprint.
Yep. This whole story is a reprint with him saving. Yeah, that's Action Comics #1, and here's Action Comics #2.
Then the story with Lois Lane going to the Banana Republic.
Yep.
That's from Action Comics #2.
Okay.
There's the scientific explanation of Superman's powers is new.
Yep. That's a 1-pager.
Then the next story is from Action Comics #3.
Wow.
And finally, the football story is from #4.
Wow, so this is I never realized before that this is almost all reprints. Barcode is on the back cover. They put it. Nice that they kept it off the front cover. I like that back cover too. That's a pretty nice Superman drawing right there. Is that the first Breaking Chains cover? Back cover?
Yeah.
I wonder.
This illustration was originally used for the Superman of America Club. The original back cover appearance has a dashed line to the right where this pinup could be cut out. The dashed line does not appear on any of the comics. This back cover was reprinted.
So this back cover is a reprint too.
Yeah, the image appears on Action Comics number 16 through 127 as the masthead image. And the image itself is trademarked.
I was going to pick up the Spider-Man and Superman, but I just can't justify the prices. I think I have a 90s version of the Spider-Man. I used to not pick up the facsimiles and just pick up the dollar ones, but then I grew to like the facsimiles. I just kind of like looking through the comic as a comic rather than as a trade paperback or something. But I can understand not wanting to bother because $7 for a Superman #1 reprint of reprints. But I just like having it as a comic book kind of thing. But I'd much prefer if it was $1. But right a few minutes before the show, we were having a lot of fun looking through the ads in Spider-Man #1. So that justified that $4 right there. I want to see my disappointment of the week. I get most of my trade paperbacks and stuff through eBay or Amazon. And I have an Amazon wish list that my family buys me stuff off of too. But this week I felt like getting something, and there's a David Aja and Nascenti series called The Seeds. Came out a few years ago. It's a Burger Books Dark Horse one. And I remember buying the first issue and going, oh, this is pretty cool, but it's only going to be 4 issues. Maybe I'll pick up the trade paperback someday. So I put the trade paperback on my Amazon list. It's been sitting there forever now. I never bothered to get it. Finally this week, I'm like, oh, they have there's a used version for $4 or $5. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll spend $5 on it and get it. Well, it must have come from a bookstore because, most of them do. Like, if you're ordering used books off Amazon, it's coming from a bookstore, not a comic shop. And what I got was the first issue of the comic, which I already had. Not the worst part. The worst part is the shape it's in, because I noticed bookstores lately have been using, I guess you'd call them envelopes. But they're like a stiff cardboard that they put the book in, and then it gets heat sealed or something. So there's always 6 inches of envelope around the book itself. But the book doesn't move because it's like heat sealed in there. Well, this was in one of those. And the heat seal is like a wax. So the whole comic book was like stuck to the wax inside this envelope. And it just, I mean, it's all, I don't know if it was this much of a mess to begin with, but it's this much. It like the wax took all the color off of the, not that it mattered because this comic is worth nothing. But some beautiful David Aja artwork in it. Let me go bigger so I can show you. But now, it was a wasted $5.
Mm-hmm.
Some really nice David Aja artwork. Do a shade. I can't remember what the story's about. But I put the trade paperback back on my wish list. I am going to ignore the $5 one that's on there now because someone's probably going to send me another issue of it and have to buy it new for $15 or whatever the price is someday in another 3 years. Let's see, what year did this come out? Well, this is the first time I've had this happen to me, buying a used book on Amazon. And I could return it, but why bother? 2018. This came out. If I were to return it, that'd mean I'd have to ship it back and da-da-da-da-da-da. All for $5? Oh, well. Chalk that one up to experience. It happens.
You'll never be doing that again.
Nope.
It's probably the same guys who would sell you an encyclopedia for $198, but didn't know what encyclopedia it was.
At least it wasn't an artist edition. Remember that from this past beginning of the summer when I bought that? I must have told the story on here. I bought the EC Covers artist edition.
Mm-hmm.
Giant thing. It goes, you usually see it for on Amazon or somewhere for about anywhere from $115 to $125. Someone was selling it for $85. And I went, all right, I'll take a chance. Because you're really not taking a chance with Amazon. They'll return your money, no questions asked. So they sent me the book. I'm telling you, it looked like someone took a sledgehammer to all four corners. That's how bad this book was destroyed. I mean, it was just, you couldn't, it wasn't just one, it got dropped once. It must have been dropped 4 times. It's like, you can only do this type of damage on purpose. So I immediately returned it and was just like, got my money back. But I was like so disappointed that I kind of never got it again. But it's a really cool book. It's the artist edition of a whole bunch of EC Comics covers. Good evening, Sleepy Reader. Oh, and I have to tell you, Sleepy Reader, I had your words in my head as I read one comic this week. Your criticism of a previous comic. Where is it? I got Kea #1 by Wes Craig, whose art I really like. And what's funny is I read another Image comic had like a 6-page preview of it or something. And I was actually really disappointed by the preview. It didn't grab me at all. But I was like, you know what? I like Wes Craig's art. I'm buying the first issue anyway. So I bought the first issue, and it's actually really well done. Some nice artwork. Wes Craig is a good storytelling. I must say, I liked it a lot better than the preview. But at the end of it, I can't remember what comic book it was that Sleepy Reader gave a critique of, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. Who knows how long ago it was. But he was like, he said, I like the comic, but he had read so many fantasy stories by that time. He's like, it's got all it's not bad, but it's got all the usual fantasy story tropes. So he wasn't that interested in it. And I remember saying to him at the time, well, I haven't read that many fantasy stories, so the tropes don't bother me. Well, the tropes bothered me kind of at the end of this comic. It's not like I didn't like it, but it's the story of we've these two characters. We've got the little brother down there, and he's the narrator as an adult, a la Saga. He's telling you the story about how it happened to him when he was a kid. We've got she's the sort of tough as nails older sister. I have no idea how old she is, 12, 14, 22. But she's like the tough as nails little sister who's trying to look out for her little brother, who they're the last two people of their tribe who were all wiped out. And he was like the prince of the tribe, so he's a little spoiled. You know, he's as an adult, he's reflecting on how spoiled he was there then, and that they're trying to they're making their way out into the big wide world as they're trying to get on with their lives and adventure. They're attacked, but see some old friend in the lizard party that's attacking them, and he protects them for a moment, and then they gotta figure it. It's like I said, yes, fantasy tropes aplenty here. Yeah, and young adult tropes too. Exactly. Those are the two. Yeah, I got Kaya because of liking his art. Turned out not to be a story I could connect with. And like I said, even after I read this, I heard Sleepy Reader's voice in my head saying, it wasn't bad. It just, I think I'm just used to all those fantasy tropes now, and they're not. The story wasn't as interesting to me. It's just. But I liked it. It was good. Good evening, God Tank.
Hey.
I don't not recommend it, except to say it might be too young adult for me. But it was nice looking and well told story. A matter of fact, I didn't even notice that before. There's a little description at the bottom of the cover. After their village is destroyed, a young girl with a magic arm and a fighting spirit is tasked with delivering her little brother to a faraway safe harbor. There, he is destined to discover the secret to overthrowing the all-powerful empire that destroyed their home. I didn't even get the second half of that reading the story. I just thought they were out looking for their fate. But it was fine. It was good. It may have been a little too young adult for me. Books like Kaya make me really torn about having a writer. He means artists doing their own writing. Something I believe in principle. Yeah, the writing was fine. It just wasn't for. I mean, maybe if I was a young adult, I would like it better. Did anyone read Dark Ride by Image this week? I really dug it. No, what's Dark Ride? Who did that one? I don't remember seeing that. Dark Ride. I missed that one. I got two. I probably like I said, every week I get an email during final order cutoff. That is from my comic shop, where it's the last time I can order. Oh, he meant to get Dark Ride. Dang. Kaya could be very successful if it makes it to the kids' book fairs. It could be. I mean, I think it was well done. It was good. It just wasn't for me. And it was 10 times better than reading the 6-page preview. I was really into it as I read it. It really, brought me into the world. Just at the end, I kind of was like, that's it? Not for me. I think too many young adult and fantasy tropes in it for old geezer like me. But like I said, often during the final order cutoff, I look up what all the first issues are. And since I got 2 first issues this week, I probably didn't get Dark Ride, whatever it is. Have you read the latest Creep Show, the last story, black and white? It's the beginning of Dark Ride. Okay. Okay. I got Creep Show. I remember liking the first story better than the last story. So. There's only 2 stories in it, right? Or was there a third? I can't remember. But the other first issue I got this week, where is it? Was Junkyard Joe, which confused me because it had a Stargirl ad on the back of an Image comic until Sleepy Reader pointed out that Jeff Johns is one of the producers on Stargirl. So, obviously, that's why it's there. He just put it on there himself because he could. Why not? But this was this was another. I really enjoyed this. I got into this one too. It's I just noticed it has the go-go checks on it. My version. It takes place in 1972 after the go-go years. But this came out of the Geiger book. It's Joshua Williamson and Andre Bresson. I meant to get that one too because those are the Birthright guys. That somehow slipped by me. I'll have to have them pre-order it for me. Because I read all of Birthright and liked it. So, Skybound imprint, so I'm going to have to look for that, yeah. All right, the team behind Birthright. Yeah, me too. I somehow missed it, though. You know what it was? I didn't remember the name of it, and it must have slipped by me on the final order cutoff. Because I was looking for it like last week or so. I'm going to have to ask him about it next week. Let me get a little piece of paper and write that down. Dark Ride. Because there's no reason I shouldn't like it unless they make it a young adult novel. But Junkyard Joe comes out of Jeff Johns' he's got like this Eternal Heroes concept going on with Geiger. And he's got different heroes from different ages who suddenly appear. And Junkyard Joe is one of them. And I must say, this is some of the best Gary Frank artwork I've seen. And I think because it's a war story. It's not a superhero story. So it takes place in Vietnam. And it's just got some beautiful artwork in here. Let me get bigger so I can show you. Gary Frank, there's usually a stiffness to his superheroes work but when he's drawing all these soldiers and jungle stuff and the coloring is nice.
Wow, actual movement in a Gary Frank comic.
Yeah. I think he's better suited for war comics. It's really nicely done.
And this is why we have to move beyond superheroes. Everybody's good at drawing everything except superheroes.
Yeah. But
what
was that?
Although that looks very Garth Ennis, all of those blown heads, very Garth Ennis.
Yeah. Because, like I said, it's a war comic. It's kind of his origin, and I think the other lead character is a cartoonist. What's his name? Who eventually makes a junkyard. The story in this is we need to crowdfund a pull list for Paulo. Yeah,
I don't do pull lists. I do collected editions.
I haven't picked that up yet, but it's on my pull list. But I dug Geiger. I was I thought, to me, Geiger was a B. I mean, I liked it. I bought it, but I liked this better than any issue of Geiger. Oh, got his complete 8-ball drop ship this week from Fantagraphics. Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. But like I said, this takes place in 72 in Vietnam. A bunch of guys have a platoon. They get a new recruit who turns out to be a robot. And they're like, what the hell? A robot. Bad things happen to this platoon. The one guy in the platoon is a cartoonist. And he eventually makes a cartoon called a daily strip called Junkyard Joe or something like that. And I think the next issue takes place in the early 80s called Whatever Happened to Junkyard Joe. Because I guess he disappeared from here to wherever the story actually starts in this 80s, which also is going to have something to do with this cartoonist who was a soldier here, but 10 years later is Station God Tank in a while.
Yeah. Junkyard Joe needs to fight somebody named Bad Leroy Brown. Let's see if Bad Leroy Brown is meaner than Junkyard Joe.
You're tempting me with Junkyard Joe. I also thought Geiger was a B and figured it would be downhill with the spinoffs. So did I. You don't know how many times I went back because it's also a $5 first issue, but it's got extra pages or something. And there's also a version of it that donates to veterans. There's like a black and white version that donates to veterans, and they have some veteran spotlights in the back too. So Mad Ghost veteran dedications, that's what they're called. But I was really impressed by this, more impressed than I was by Geiger. It was good stuff. Evening. Great to see everyone. Hopefully we'll be seeing Chris Geruso at around 7 o'clock. Wilson is out at New York Comic Con and then hitting a Marvel reunion down at Abby's Tavern. I got the cover. It looks like he's an old G.I. Joe action figure. Oh, cool.
In the meantime, in 2 weeks, I will have the Amadora Comics Festival, where we'll have the Spider-Man 60th anniversary exhibit, and we'll have Bob McLeod as a guest. I hope.
Cool,
Let's see if he doesn't do a last-minute cancellation, which is not unheard of. But
especially
we're also
in this day and age.
Yeah, and my LCS's owner has decided to go back into publishing, and he created the first Portuguese AI-generated comic, which he will be selling for the first time at the festival. I actually got the cover in the back cover right here. So let's share screen here. Okay, let's see if it's this. No, it's not this. No. Damn it.
He's looking for it.
Looking for it because it's being shared from the wrong. Get the screen marked tool. Why am I being blocked by myself?
62 Lefty Blues has gone the way of Paulo on many books and am trade waiting. I enjoy the read, and waiting helps me practice the art of anticipation. That's the smart way, but I'm still addicted to the weekly pattern. Yeah, I like reading comics as periodicals. I'm not a huge fan of trade paperbacks either. They're kind of hard to read. There we go.
There it is. It's called the Blank Polaroid. And it's AI generated. And Mario said that he had to tweak the script a lot to make sure that it generated images that could be turned into cohesive story.
One of those new that is getting so much. That reminds me too.
Yeah, so
much play. The computer generated images. Where did that one go?
What's the one that he's using?
Here we go. I got this in. That's pretty wild. Very, very surreal looking with Salvador Dali's mustache.
Mm-hmm. Which program did he use? He said what it was, but now I can't find it.
I was sleepy. If I wait for the deluxe hardback. That's what I did with Echolands. There we go. I got the Echolands deluxe hardback. Just because it was a sideways comic, it was $5 an issue. The art in it, this is the J.H. Williams III one. The art in it was terrific. I was like, you know what? I don't want to pay $5 an issue for Echolands. I want to see if they come out with a nice hardback. If they do, I'll buy it. And I actually did. Often I say that and never buy the thing. But with this one, I mean, each issue was each page is like a double page spread, so it's really cool looking. I haven't read it yet, besides the first issue I read back then. It's like some fairy tale thing, but pretty cool looking. I like it much better bound like this than individual comic books that went sideways. Something about the individual comic books that went sideways felt too flimsy to me. But actual book that goes sideways, hardcover, feels a lot sturdier. What's in the creepy red pile? So there's the deluxe hardback I got. Being an artist, I just dig on all the covers, and I love the art so much. Yeah, hold on, let me show you another thing I got. I don't think I showed this on this show. I finally read it, The Electric Sublime. This one is by the Ice Cream Man guys. W. Maxwell Prince is the writer, and Martin Marazzo is the artist. That's it. Yeah. And this is the one where they're putting this out again, like reworked or something, remastered. And it's going to be called The Art Brute. And I was looking at it. It's coming out in individual issues again. So I was like, oh, the individual issues, cool. Then I was like, well, do I want to? I'm like, if it's already out in trade paperback, the other version, do I want to pay $5? I don't know. I forget how much it was, but I'm like, how much? I was trying to figure out how many pages it was going to be, how many issues it was going to be, how much I'd pay for it compared. And I ended up getting this on the end of the story was I got this on eBay for $8 shipped. So I'm like, you know what? Now I'll compare and contrast it if I want to see what the new remastered one looks like. But once again, I'm not a huge fan of reading trade paperbacks. They don't open all the way all the time. They snap closed. It's not like reading a comic. Not that I hate to. I mean, I obviously bought it, but it was very cool. If you like Ice Cream Man, you should like this. It's not that dissimilar from it. Except instead of being horror stories, it's art stories about this guy who is like sort of autistic in the real world, but then he can go into paintings, and he can literally go into the space of paintings and go into this other art world. And he's brilliant.
So it's more like a Week at the Library graphic novel?
I don't know A Week at the Library.
I actually bought that many, many years ago. Then I kind of lost track of Maxwell Prince, so I didn't. And then they tell me he's having some success with this Ice Cream Man thing.
Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed this one. It's definitely worth getting. Cool cover, Paulo. So what does the title mean in English?
The Blank Polaroid. But there's a from the other page I've seen, there's a lot of musings about growing a mustache.
He's talking about he thought the Echolands was a cool format for a book. I just didn't like as an individual comic, it just kind of I didn't like the format, but as the book, I put Art Brut on my pool. Didn't even know what the title means though. Art Brut is the guy's name, I think it was.
Should translate as rough art in French.
Yeah. Rough art. That would make sense. Like it. Oh, and the people messing like in the very beginning pages we get people are messing with art like I don't. Let me get bigger so you can see this. Here's the crime. The Mona Lisa is winking.
Mm-hmm.
She's got one, and stuff like that starts happening to great art, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So they call in the art brute, who's here's a couple of pages where he's in some sort of mental institution, padded walls. So that's where he stays. And his sidekick is this artist's model who is just, a wooden artist model until he goes in the art world and all of a sudden that guy, he's real. He's, 7 feet tall and walks and talks and he's an actual person, the artist's wooden model. But he's in our world, he's just a wooden model. So the Electric Sublime is good stuff. Now I have to decide if I want to buy the Art Brut individual issues. I think I will. Why not? And now I can look and see what they changed. And there's some nice covers to it too. Art related covers. This is not a pipe. No, this is not a comic book. Ce n'est pas un comic book. There's a Gustav Klimt cover on one side and a Picasso and a Jeffrey Koons cover on that side. I guess these are the regular covers. But nice, if for $8, you can't go wrong. His art reminds me a bit of yours, Jared. Yeah, well, he's got a lot of weird stuff in there, just like I do. His week of the library was cool. I read that on Hoopla. I'll have to check that out. Thanks for both those translations, Paulo. I'm gonna have to make a video. This is Monsters and Dames, the Emerald City Comic Con book that Chris Girusso passed me along this job. He couldn't do it. The production on it. So here's a table where all the people were, but it's a pretty cool art book of just all the people who are going to be at the Emerald City Comic Con. So, and this is a job Chris has done before, but he was like, I can't do it this year. Do you want it? And I said, sure. So it was just putting together the book. I'm going to do a video. This reminds me, I'm going to do a video on it showing off all the drawings because they're pretty cool. There's some pretty cool artwork in here. It's just all the artists who were at the con in August. Was this? I think it was the end of August. And here's the card that tells you all the tables they're at, where you can go and get them each to sign your book. Well, it's a pretty decent idea. I think it's limited to 500 copies. How many copies is it limited to? They're numbered, I think. Limited edition, 500 of 700. This is. So there's 750. Pardon me. A pretty cool book. Some pretty cool artwork in it. Pretty cool is our theme of the night. So are you looking to get anything at this con, Paulo?
Sure. The other thing that my LCS is putting out is the long-awaited sequel to Kong the King by Osvaldo Medina. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll have there's if he's putting that out, he's not going to put out the second volume of the other book he created last year. I'll have to buy a Portuguese Western that was made earlier in the year, and a Portuguese war comic as well. So yeah, I just basically used the festival to get all the cool stuff that was published in Portuguese. Since there's a Boot Black is getting the Portuguese edition and it's an integral, I might as well get the integral to the other Michael comic Giant, because I have that one in French, but then I would have the 2 volumes in a single volume in Portuguese as well. So I'll get Giant in Boot Black. Still don't know if I'm going to go back to buying some of the Agatha Christie comics. And we'll see what else is there.
Any people you're looking forward to meeting? Bob McLeod?
Yeah, I'm going to see if they'll let me interview him.
Okay.
That'll be nice.
That'd be cool. And Sleepy asked, what program did you use to put the book together, the art book? InDesign is what the book was put together in. But of course, I also had to use Photoshop to make all the art the right size, because it doesn't matter how many times you give the specs out. If there's, 50 artists, at least 10 of them are going to be so wrong it's amazing. And another 10 just don't have the size right. And, 30 of them are fine. So InDesign, but it takes some Photoshop too.
They taught us the journalists to use InDesign about 10 years ago. And the page designers didn't like it because we captioned the photos directly on InDesign. Ooh. We just went there, move over, let me caption, and then we'd start moving the photos around.
There's nothing worse than because when you're doing that, all you're doing is making more work for the designer.
Yeah, or when we're like, you need to cut out 5 lines from the text. Yeah. No, I don't. Move the photo.
The worst thing, though, is amateur typesetters in Word. Mm-hmm. And it's just like there's people who send you, they're like, oh, I want you to make it just like this. I'm like, no, you don't want me to make it just like that. There's some jobs I've done where you get a mock-up from whoever the editor, whoever the person is. And they're like, oh, I want you to make it just like this. And you make it just like that, and it's terrible. But if you make it, if I don't make it just like that first, and I make it look good, they'll go, no, you have to copy that exactly. We worked on this. I'm like, okay. I set it up their amateur way, and then they come back and like, oh, could you make those 2 lines of text even? Oh, can you even up this? Oh, can you make it until it's eventually the right way? And it's like, they're uneven because I copied the way you did it. But you can't say that.
Well, in journalism, we do. Stop messing with my text. You stop messing with my page layout.
I really don't know where you find all the time to do the trillion things you do, Jared. Sometimes I don't either.
Yeah. Like this week, I was supposed to finish all the text for the car magazine, and I did, but that's not what I wanted to do. I've been spending the last few months collating winners lists from the British Hill Climb Championship. And trying to figure out the engine displacement for the cars that they use. But see, you know how annoying I sound when I know all the things I do about comics. I'm saying the things I know about cars. So that's annoying.
The Electric Sublime.
2 weeks ago, I did a show with my friend in Portugal, Central Comics, and because I had mentioned in one of his live streams that Marvel doesn't start at Fantastic Four #1, because I have that thing with the period from 1958 to 61, And he said, "Well, we should do a video on that." And we let the summer go by because people then go on vacation. So 2 weeks ago, we finally did that show. And he mentioned one thing. Why don't you write a book? We shouldn't do this on a live stream in Portugal. You should write a book about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should write a book about the thing because there needs to be a book about that thing. And I'm not sure if I'm the person to do it because there's things that need to be researched, and I don't have old magazines and fanzines that may have something about it. Researching that period is going to be a bitch because nobody did proper research on a pre-superhero books.
Right. There's that one guy who writes the intros to the Atlas era stuff. The dentist. He's a dentist in Manhattan, and he's like been. Let me see what his name is. He writes the intros to all of Marvel. He's like the guy who knows the most about that era and can identify the artists.
Oh,
and the intros are really good if you've never read them. I'll have to. Dr. Michael J. Vassallo.
Yeah.
And he's like the one guy, I think.
Yeah, I have one of his books.
Who knows all this stuff. So I like the intros to these a lot.
Yeah.
He really knows his Atlas era stuff.
Yeah, because, I mean, you try to find out the people who were there, they're dead.
Yeah.
Flo is dead. Goldberg is dead. Brodsky's dead. Only Larry Lieber is alive. And
there's Chris Geruso.
There he is.
What's up, fellows?
Good evening. I was just showing the Monsters and Dames book.
And I showed the cover to the first Portuguese AI-generated comic.
Aha. AI generated. No artist likes to hear those words.
The thing is, it doesn't do a comic for you. You have to give. One of my friends put a comment, left a comment on Facebook about another guy who was trying to. He just typed the name of his humor series into the AI, and it generated what it looks like the cover to a heavy metal album. But because it's called The Bad Summer Boys, and it's about guys who are winging it, trying to make money to spend on the vacation, but they're slackers. So it's a newspaper cartoon style. So it has nothing, but he puts it in there, and I mean that thing may generate an environment, but it's not going to do storytelling for you.
I wonder if American Flag just brought this to mind. I wonder if you can generate for pornography with one of those.
It's maybe easier. The comment that my friend did, you have to be you have to give it Alan Moore detail on speed.
Yeah.
Not speedy, on speed. You have to take speed.
Right. It takes a lot. Who is it? Jose Garzon. What's his name? Marzon. He's a comic book artist. I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I don't really know him. Jose Marzon, right?
He did Superman many years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, Junior. Jose Marzon Jr. But he was playing with some. I forget what the big one was. The AI one. He was playing with that like a couple weeks ago and posting stuff he came up with on it. It's like, oh, interesting.
What I think you can do is you generate backgrounds, fully colored, fully rendered,
right,
and then you add the figures.
Yeah. And somebody, I can't remember who it was. It was one of the. It was some YouTuber who I forget which one. Some comic book YouTuber we know, who I think was also on Instagram or something, and he was trying to generate his name as a T-shirt logo on a girl with big boobs. And he got the girl with big boobs in a tight T-shirt, but it wouldn't generate his logo for something. He couldn't get that done. I can't remember who it was, though.
Yeah, I suppose that if you're using the AI program in full version installed on your computer, don't think you can give it a command as an AI. You might have to add actual code and to say insert picture here.
Yeah, I have one
Because
that.
the AI doesn't know that it's your logo when the logo needs to go on a
Yeah, I
t-shirt.
don't. You'd have to add you'd add that in Photoshop later. So, what are you working on tonight, Chris?
Sketch covers.
Sketch covers. Let's make them bigger so everyone can see.
I think the last time
That's
last time I was talking to you, I was putting the covers on these
Yep.
comics.
Oh, okay. So those are those ones.
So this is
Spider-Man. Very nice. Oh, we got a bunch of Spider-Mans. That's right. You were doing all those Spider-Mans. Boy, if you were at New York Comic Con, you'd be making out like a bandit.
Yeah, you think so?
With all those Spider-Man covers.
Yeah.
You should be drawing Spider-Man.
Yeah. Did you go?
Sketch cover looks better, says Sleepy Reader.
Oh, thanks.
And he says, "Is that an over-the-counter program?" Yeah, there's one there's one I use. This isn't as good as the new one. They're also web-based. I forget the name of the one that's big now. That's web-based. That you go to the website and put in the prompts. The one I was using is an app called Dream. Just to try out. So it's an iOS app named Dream, Discover Dream, and it makes, there's someone else's. Whoops. Come on. Where'd that go? Oh, that's making me choose an art style. I just wanted to see that guy's art. This was made on this program. You just put words in as prompts, and it comes up with stuff. There's another one, I guess, that someone came up with. Good. You can see it does weird things too, like that. What's that one big ear there? I'm not sure. Some sort of fabric thing. Wait, let's see. Let's put in some prompts. I think this one makes you pay now, too. Let's see. Sign up. Type anything. What words do we want to put in? Superhero? Superhero?
Okay. Pineapple, pizza.
Pine. Apple, pizza.
Pepperoni. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's too much pizza. Let's see what else we have. Pepperoni, wings. Hopefully they'll make bird wings and not.
How about some cheesy bread?
We're not just
ice cold. Ice cold Pepsi.
Wheels, wings and wheels.
Wings, wheels, and broom.
Broom?
Broom.
Broom. And how about Ford Mustang? Put those words in. We're going to choose an art style. We're going to choose
real.
Charles Schultz.
Charles Schultz. And it's actually Schulz, right? H-S-U-L-Z.
Yeah. But how long does it take to render?
Let's see. Let's hit realistic and create. It's creating. See, they got a premium one now. What? Oh, they're just messing with us. They want us to buy the premium one.
So what do they let us do? Where's the Ford Mustang?
It did a lot better than this when I used it before they had the premium version.
Where's the broom? Oh, I feel cheated.
That's because we were cheated.
We spent a lot of we spent a lot of time working on the script.
And it gave us nothing.
We ad-libbed crazy words.
Before they added the premium version in, it would do the whole thing. So now it obviously wants you to buy it. To do the same thing you could do before you had to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Midjourney, there's the AI platform. That was the one everyone was using. Midjourney.
That's the one that my LCS owner is
using. Slab Dolphin. That's what we have to put in. 4K realistic lighting. Yeah, sure.
He did the comic is 16 pages, so I imagine that 16 pages was all he could do on a free version.
Maybe.
He's still probably gonna charge $10 for it.
What's the last Comic-Con you were at, Chris?
I don't know. Probably.
I don't either. It's been a while.
Probably something here in North Carolina. One of the small shows here.
Because Wilson is at New York Comic-Con tonight. Hopefully he's having a good time.
I'm having a good time. I'm drinking Portuguese moonshine.
Woohoo!
It's actually Palmas brandy, but it's the closest we have in spirit to moonshine. Because we have to use the wine leftovers.
The wine leftovers.
Yeah, because the Palmas is the what's left of the wine during after you take out all the liquid. So you kind of squeeze what's left, and it produces a more pure form of alcohol. So it's about 40%. So it doesn't taste like bad green whiskey. It's brandy.
Brandy. Let's see. Another issue I got this week is Rogue Sun. Issue number 7. I think this was one of those done-in-one guest artist ones. Oh yeah, it was all about him meeting this other guy. It was a superhero story. I guess you could call it a fill-in issue, where he just went around and had a misunderstanding with this guy who was trying to help him or not, or it was okay. It wasn't as interesting as a normal issue of Rogue Sun, but the art was really good. Who's the art? Oh, that's right. This was a choose your own adventure issue. I completely forgot that because you notice it's got a big page number up in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's because when you get to page 5, it says, to rescue the hostages, turn to page 9. To save the building, turn to page 18. And you go to either one or the other, and then it tells you, like if we go to page 9.
When I was a kid, I bought 4 of those things. Choose your own adventures.
At page 9, we read page 9, and then it tells us to turn back to page 6. And we read page 6 and 7. It says, to incapacitate or ornate, turn to page 14 or 22. And the thing is, we turn to page 14, 19 or 24. I got caught. Let's go to 19. Back to page 10. I got caught in a loop. 10, 8 or 16. Let's go to 8. Turn to page 6. Go back to 6. 10. I got caught in a loop. And I think the character was actually caught in a time loop too. So I think I was supposed to be caught in a loop. And then I just turned the page and read the rest of the story. But it was really weird because I was, I was doing the thing. I'm like, I am caught in a loop here. What happened? They caught me in a time loop. Because there was sort of time travel going on.
Do you remember those computer games where you walked around talking to the other characters and they would have to explain what you had to do? but then you always came back to the same characters and they told you the same thing.
Yeah. That was I was caught in a loop here. So it was a fun, clever issue, but gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, King's Poet. How are you doing tonight?
You missed the AI comic.
The AI comic.
That's what you get for not being here when we start. Now we will not tell you about it.
No AI comics for him. After
you're done, you're going to have to start from the beginning. But you can watch on plus 50%, so you get them fast. I watch YouTube on plus 50%. So
yeah,
3-hour videos in 2 hours 20 minutes.
I've never watched them fast forward because usually I don't watch them. Usually I only listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I put them on as I'm working. And
yeah, I just put I just put the settings on playback speed 1.5, and it's faster.
Okay. I've just never had the desire to do that. I've never said I need to speed this up.
Yeah. And kids do it in twice the speed.
Oh, I know. I've seen people that seems to me like they're watching it as a chore.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like if I'm not interested in something, I can just skip it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to listen to things as a chore. Had dinner plans. Just finished inking the last page of my G.G. Allen graphic novel. 104 pages. Very cool.
Nice.
Wow.
He's been posting pages on Facebook, I think it is, as he goes along. Nice. Nice. G.G. Allen. I don't know how I got to know so many G.G. Allen fans, but I know a few of them. But unlike some of my friends said, think there's more G.G. Allen fans in our group than I'm like, no, there's like 2 or 3 of them, and they just post a lot of G.G. Allen stuff. No one else is posting G.G. Allen stuff but these 2 or 3 people. Other people might comment on it, but that doesn't mean they're big fans. Chris, did you know either of the 2 guys? We are everywhere. Did you know either of the 2 comic book guys who died this week? There are more GG fans now than when he was alive. Yeah, because you don't have to put up with him. He's a concept now. Sometimes when you don't have to put up with the artist, they get more fans. Do you know the 2 guys who died this week, Chris?
One of them was Vincent, and I knew Vincent.
Who's Vincent?
Are you talking about?
Third one?
Well, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Kim Jung-ji and Drew Ford.
No, I did not. I didn't know either one of them personally.
I didn't either, but I knew them. I knew their work. Like Kim Jung-ji is that guy who's been in viral videos drawing elaborate drawings with just in ink.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's
him.
And
I was kind of like that. That's kind of shocking, right? Because he's relatively young.
Yeah, he was 47 or 48,
and he didn't appear to be unhealthy in any way.
Right. He was on his way from Europe, some European show, to New York Comic Con, and he had chest pains, and they took him to the hospital, and he didn't survive the operation. It's like, whoa. And Drew Ford was an editor. Once again, I didn't know him, but I bought some of his books. He was an editor at Dover, and he had its own It's Alive press. He specialized in bringing old stuff back into print. Like the Puma Blues is one of the books I bought of his. And Sam Glasman's USS Stevens, that's the name of it.
Yeah, Sam Glasman, everything. He also put out a couple of collections with his westerns,
right.
And he republished 2 Trina Robbins graphic novels.
Oh, that's right. Sax
Romer's Dope.
Sax Rohmer's dope. That's it.
Yeah. And I was looking at his shop, and there were collected editions of the Boz Chronicles and J.M. DeMatteis's Mercy.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he managed to get a few interesting things into print. So yeah, it's unfortunately I never got around to buying anything from It's Alive. It was putting out a lot of stuff at the same time during the period that I had no money, and I was ordering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So because I would have to order those things. No, none of the comic shops here would order them,
right?
Unless somebody else pre-ordered.
That USS Stevens one was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised at how much I liked that, because it was a collection. He did. He was in World War II, Sam Glasman, and he was on. I guess he was on a destroyer in the Pacific, and the stories used to run in the back of like DC war comics, like 8-page stories about slice of life, day-to-day stuff in World War II on a U.S. destroyer. Just what they had to do every day. And really well done. I enjoyed reading that one a lot. And who was Vincent who died, you said there, Chris? Another person?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I just thought maybe that's who you're talking about, because he was in Bleeding Cool, and he was an Image staffer.
He was like a what?
He was I'm sorry. He was a staffer at Image Comics.
Oh, okay.
And they mentioned it on Bleeding Cool, I think. So I thought maybe that's why
what did he
might
do?
have been asking about him. Just a production artist.
Oh man, a production guy died. I'd always take notice of those.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, why would they put? Again, another real young guy, super nice guy, real quiet, introverted guy, but everybody loved him, and just out of the blue,
wow,
he's gone. Like he was tweeting Inktober sketches.
Oh wow!
And then he was gone.
Wow. How old was he?
I don't know. Younger than me, but that doesn't necessarily mean young anymore.
Yeah. Was he still at Image? Had he been there for a while? Or?
I think he was still at Image. Like, I think he was. I should look at a recent Image comic, see if his name is in it.
Vincent, what was his last name?
Kukua.
Vincent Kukua. Okay. A third guy. That's like I heard. It's funny how you hear about someone who died and you forgot they existed. And all of a sudden you're like, you're reminded of their existence by them dying. It's kind of, there was a Marvel guy. What was his name? Paul Curtis. I don't know if you know him. I think he worked down on 9, and he was just quiet. Like I said, I hadn't heard from him since the 90s. Just a quiet guy. Used to work on 9. Sometimes came with the bullpen, chat with the bullpenners. And like I said, I wasn't in touch with him at all after he left Marvel. But someone just, a month or so ago tweeted out that he had died. I was like, what? Who's that Paul? I remember him. So it's always weird when you're reminded of somebody by their death.
Yeah.
A strange feeling. The Germans probably have a word for it, and it's really long.
What was that longest German word I found last week?
Oh yeah.
Let's see it again. Kraftfahrzeug-Haftpflichtversicherung.
And speaking of Image, I got the Image 25th anniversary anthology, issue number 6. Let's see if they got a production artist listed in here. Design and production by Dina Phelps. Not Vincent. But another solid issue. It's an anthology. I like some of the stories. I don't like other ones. If it doesn't have a Chris Geruso in it, what good is it? But there's a Super Patriot story going on along with Hack and Slash to tie into some Eric Larson Savage Dragon.
Super Patriot, the extreme version of Inspector Gadget.
Well, this was solid. There's a new Pro story by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. I like this cover a lot. I think that's well done.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that anthology book?
Yeah, it's an anthology book. This is the one you were in. In case you don't remember.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's that one.
How do you split the royalties on those books?
Good question. There probably are none. There's a Cena Grace story in this one. So Amanda and Jimmy are in this one. There's a Jeff Johns and Andre Muti story in this one. Joe Casey and Nathan Fox. Scotty Young and Nate Picos have a 2-pager every issue. That's like a comic strip. Brendan Fletcher and Erica Henderson. Maria Lovett. Tim Seeley and Stefano Caselli. Sean Lewis and Benjamin Mackey. Patrick Kildon. Maurizio Rosenvig and Jim Campbell and Dean Haspiel. Lots of people in this one. How much is it?
I'm going to have to correct your pronunciation there. It's not Maria Lovett. It's
what
Maria,
is it?
Maria Love.
Say that again.
Love. Love.
Love.
Love.
Love.
Love.
Love. Like a duvet, only a louvet?
Yes, it's a Catalan name, so you have to pronounce it in the Catalan way, not in Spanish.
There's 2 L's. I don't know what that's all about.
Yes, it's a Catalan thing. 2 L's at the beginning of the word.
Love.
Love.
Yeah, love. I'll have to remember that. She did some pretty good. Did she do that book? She did some book with dirty covers. That who was writing it? I can't remember. It was a writer I wasn't too fond of. What was the name? Who's the 100 Bullets writer? I think he's writing the book I'm thinking of that she's drawing. And I kind of liked the artwork on it, but I was like, I read one issue of it and was like, I don't like the writing. Azzarello, there we go. Brian Azzarello. We got 2 Azzarellos here. I think he's doing a book with her. It's got some nice artwork. I've been getting the Image Anthology, but still haven't read anything in it yet. I guess I'll shotgun it at some point. Yeah, you can read a story all the way through and then put it down and read the next story all the way through. Oh, Tim's here. How you doing, Tim? Yeah, what is the name?
In NYCC as well. Tim, are you in NYCC?
Tim in New York City. I'd like to. That'd make its own video.
Bueller is at New York Comic Con.
Okay.
The guy from Comics with Bueller.
Yeah, I know the name. I don't know him though.
He's Damien's friend.
Okay.
They're the real Portland Comics Mafia.
Is Bueller from Portland?
Close. Eugene, I think. Is he from Eugene?
But he flew into New York City for the con?
No, he has he sold his comic book collection so he could build a bus and travel around the country.
Okay, I remember.
Going out to all the comic shops. The thing is, the bus keeps breaking down.
Why wouldn't it? Going to New York Comic Con without a couch to sleep on has to be super expensive. Oh yeah.
Unless you stay in Jersey.
Yeah. That's not a cheap ticket. Even in Jersey, it's not going to be that cheap.
Poughkeepsie?
You'd have to stay in Jersey City or Hoboken. That would be easiest.
Or they can go upstate and crash with you?
Yeah. Then you just have a hard time getting into the city in terms of we're in a public transportation desert, as they call Rockland County. Comics with Bueller Travis lives just across the town line from Portland. So the cops can't get him, man. He runs back home across the town line. Says, "You towny cops, get out of here. This isn't your jurisdiction." Take a hike, towny cops. And here's a series that ended this week. He makes his living from YouTube, which is mind-blowing. Wow.
He's actually successful at flipping.
At flipping comics?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, we know someone. There's Tim. Good evening, Tim. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How y'all doing?
All right.
Hotel room?
No, my wife's a travel nurse, and there's people who actually will give you a 13-week lease if you're a travel nurse, because a travel nurse contract is 13 weeks. So I'm in Boone, North Carolina, using her place.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That beard is getting thick.
Yeah, I noticed that when I got on here, man. I have been working myself to death, and I'm like, wow, not me at all.
You look like a different person with that thick beard on.
Makes me look like I got like 20 extra pounds, but no, I only have 10. But anyway.
He has sponsors, and his fans buy comics from him sometime in auctions. Oh, all right. He has sponsors. How many viewers does he have?
More than you.
What was that?
More than you.
Oh, yeah, duh. That's not hard. That's not hard to do.
But Bueller's quite popular, and he has, when he does live streams, he has dozens of people commenting.
Ah, okay. Does he have what is that called when they give you cash during your live streams?
Super chats.
Super chats?
Yeah, he has super chats.
Wow. That's a dream life. People just give you money for talking on YouTube.
Oh, 5 years ago it was better. Everyone that I watched had super chats.
Yeah. I've gotten super chats before. It's
Yeah, I remember the first time you got a super chat, they had already changed the rules that you can't collect your super chat money until you get $100 in super chats.
Yeah. So I got it eventually. Yeah, there's a threshold where it's $100, and then once you make that, and for some people I've talked to them, it's taken people up to a year to make $100, no matter how many videos they make. I don't know what the deal is. So yeah. You guys ever watched? Are you familiar with a show called Red Dwarf? Just wondering. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was watching it's new to me. It finally made it over here where I can find it. But I was watching Red Dwarf, and I'm like, man, I need to find people that watch this. I don't know anybody that watches this. Need to discuss.
Our friend Bunch was the big Red Dwarf fan in the 90s. He's the one who knows all about it. So that's why I ended up watching Red Dwarf, was because in the 90s, because he would loan those tapes. Here, you got to watch this. Here, you got to watch this. Here, you got to watch this.
I love the guy who plays Cat, Danny John Jules.
Yeah.
I actually try to find other British series that he starred in.
I found some movies he's in, and I can't remember them. But yeah, he's been in several movies I didn't even know that he was in, that I have on VHS, for like little bit parts and stuff, no starring roles. But he's in his 60s. He's been around forever. So
yeah,
Bueller has about 24K subs. Oh, that's a fair amount. Not enough to buy. Well, no wonder if he had 48K, his camper wouldn't be breaking down as much as he goes around the country looking at comic shops. I remember seeing there was like 5 years ago they started making new Red Dwarf episodes, right?
Yeah, it's been. I think it got picked. I think the BBC They got away from them in the 90s. And then there was some channel I've never heard of. I don't know if it was a digital channel or what it is. Picked them up, but I know in 2020, I got excited. I found that they came out with a TV movie. It's an hour and a half. Promised Land.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I must have. That must have popped up on my radar then.
Yeah. But the Red Dwarf stuff. I mean, I saw them on VHS tapes also, and it blew my mind when House came on because I'm like, where have I seen that dude? And he was on,
I knew him from Blackadder. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, and from
I must be the most unsophisticated person. I have tried to watch Blackadder, and I can't hang in there. I can't do it. I'm like, I love British stuff. I love British television. Blackadder's the one I cannot hang in there. I don't know.
I have a cunning plan.
I never know what's going on.
Every season of Blackadder takes place in a different time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that it was like the first season took place in
1300s or something.
Times.
Yeah.
The second season took place in France in the 1700s. The last season took place in the trenches of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
Maybe I need to see that one. But
Blackadder starts as the first Blackadder is a prince, as it is a complete idiot.
Yeah.
The second is a nobleman, and is slightly smarter. Then he's a major domo, and now he's actually smart. And in the war, he's just a captain, and he's finally smart, but now he's a nobody.
Yeah. And I remember the war. I haven't seen him. Once again, my friend Bunch got everybody at Marvel watching Blackadder too.
The first British comedy I saw when I was 5 or 6, it was called Allo Allo. And it's set in World War II in France.
Yeah.
Now that thing is the best thing. So it's British, so all the characters are speaking English, but so it's in German. It's in World War II in Nazi-occupied France. So the French characters speak English with a French accent. The German characters speak English with a German accent. The Italian captain that shows up in season 5 or 6, he speaks English with an Italian accent. They all understand each other perfectly. Then there are the British airmen who they need to smuggle out, but they can never get rid of them. They speak English with a posh upper crust accent. Nobody understands them except for Michel of the Resistance. And then they bring on the second season they bring in a guy who's supposed to be spying for British intelligence and is posing as a police officer. But the thing is, he forgets he's there to be a spy, and he gets into the police officer. So he's actually English, but he pretends to be French. So he mangles all the words. When all the characters have catchphrases. And it kind of gets to a point where you're in season 4 and you're just there to watch them come in and do the catchphrases. And the policeman's catchphrase is officer. His name is Officer Crabtree. He opens the door and says, "Good morning. I was pissing by the door, and I had to come here and give you a massage."
Do you have a massage for me? Going from Bean to Blackadder is a shock. It is.
Oh yeah. And
now Faulty Towers with comic cracks.
I could not believe. I don't know the number, right? But there's not a lot of Faulty Towers episodes. There's maybe 27 of them. Yeah. I don't know. I have them at the house on DVD, and that's how I figured out. I'm like, how can there just be that many episodes? Because I watched that for years on PBS. I was just like, that there has to be more. This has to be a joke. I did the same thing with the young ones. I was like, this is all they made. So much goes on in them.
Each season only has about 4 to 6 episodes usually.
Mm-hmm.
Making some stuff because there's a lot of stuff that actually gets some traction in foreign syndication. So they try to do 8 to 10 episodes. But if they do an American season, it just doesn't really work.
Yeah.
They have to hire extra writers, and the quality suffers.
I don't know what the first British show I watched was, but I remember what the first British show I didn't watch was. Because like it must have been I didn't see Monty Python until probably high school sometime, maybe even late high school.
Yeah.
Because I can remember being a kid and Monty Python used to run Sunday nights on Channel 13 PBS around here. Probably around 10:30 at night. It wasn't even on early. And I can remember looking through the TV because there was nothing on TV Sunday nights. Maybe even been earlier, since I don't think I went to bed that late. Whenever. But I can remember because it was long before Sunday night football was a thing. So the last football game would end at like 7 p.m. And then there'd be, 60 minutes and then maybe a Disney show movie, which I didn't want to watch. So I'd always be looking for something to watch on Sunday night. And there was never anything. So I'd be looking through the TV guide and I'd see Monty Python's Flying Circus. And I'd always go, God, a circus on PBS. That's the last thing I want to watch. So I never even bothered to flip over there because I thought it was a literal circus on PBS to bore us all to death.
1977/78. I'm 5 years old. And the stepdad is watching Leon Redbone on, I'm assuming, a PBS show. And then somebody years ago, one of the Marks on here, Ghost Critic or the other Mark, told me the show, which I'll never remember, but I remember the opening of it. It was one of those zany little openings, and it was three brothers that looked like Frank Zappa on a bike. They were on one of those bikes where three people could be on, and their opening of the show is them zooming through town and having like a weird little adventure. I just remember it was bizarre. And then it was Monty Python. And I think the very first of all, that opening by Terry Gilliam with his animation.
Right.
Okay. When you're watching like, Fantastic Four and Super Friends and Harlem Globetrotters and all that stuff in the late 70s and stuff. And then you see that, I'm very confused. I mean, I remember the uncomfortable feeling like this is like blasphemous or something. Right. And I think the first sketch I saw was everybody was dressed like Superman and they all worshiped the bicycle repairman. Yeah, that was the real hero. Everybody was Superman in the world, but the bicycle repairman, that's the hero.
He could repair bicycles.
Yeah. And then I went from there. Eric Idle ended up being my favorite. Oh, yeah. I have all the young ones. I had those on boot. I remember young ones I found on MTV, probably around 86 or 87.
I remember when it ran on that,
At 1 in the morning. And when you are like 13 or 14, 1 in the morning and staying up is not that easy. You know what I mean? So
that's funny. I remember when everybody was into the young ones, but somehow I never watched it. The young ones did another series called The Comic Strip.
Yep, I have bad news. I have the 2 bad news from the comic strip that they did. And then I watched Bottom on Amazon Prime. I finally got to watch it. The Young Ones DVD set that I have has a clip and maybe the first episode of Bottom. So you can imagine me dying over here in the mountains of Virginia going, give me my British, trashy episodes of Bottom.
Yeah. How about Are You Being Served? Was on PB. I remember that one. I watch that one every now and then, but not a ton.
Are you being served? I haven't seen that since I was too young to understand the jokes.
Yeah. See, I would love to actually have like some kind of regular stream or show or whatever. I don't know. To where like you pick. I could only probably do like 6 of them. Like Mighty Boosh. I could probably get six British episodes from the late 60s up to like 2005. The Mighty Boosh is probably where I end. And do one episode with a few people. And I'm just imagining people in England, Britain, whatever, watching this going, these bastards don't know nothing. They just get agitated listening to us Americans, talking about it.
Now it's like all the UK show, all the BBC shows I watch are like genteel murder shows.
Midsummer. Wait a minute. What is it? Oh my gosh, I'm going blank. Midsummer Murders or something.
That one
I watched that.
There's so many of them.
Well, everybody in the town should be dead. That has got to be the deadliest neighborhood ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah.
Yeah, because there are episodes with compounded murders, so it's on season 21, 4 episodes per season. Yeah, they probably killed about 150 people on that show.
Easily.
There's Mighty Bosch radio shows.
The Mighty Boosh in my family, we got the old Greg. I like Milky Joe. I mean, you have to watch the show to know these people. And I kill my wife because I call him Milky Johnson on purpose to be vulgar with her, right? She's like, it's Milky Joe. I'm like, it's old Milky Johnson. 2 of them, 2 of us. And then, her favorite episode is the one where they sang Eels. Last night, I found it for her. I found one of these little streaming services that's free. That's got the Mighty Boosh again. It's on Crackle. It's called Crackle.
Yeah, I know.
So they were watching the Eels one, and I have her stepson come out of his room finally. He's like that teenage boy where you stay in your room. You know what I'm saying? He comes out, and it's either like, is that Invader Zim or is that the Mighty Boosh? Oh, it's Eels. And he comes out, and I have my wife and my stepson sitting there singing Eels. And the song is like eels getting up inside you. They'll find an opening anywhere they can to get inside you, and they're like loving the song. Like that's what I dealt with last night. Yeah, people singing about eels while we're watching the Mighty Boosh. But yeah, I could picture English gentlemen screaming at YouTube, like if we took one show and did like a 2-hour stream talking about it, they'd just be like, like we're butchering their show. That's how I picture it in my head.
What I find odd is when I see British actors from the sitcoms appearing in American shows, and I'm watching Seinfeld, and all of a sudden, what's Lieutenant Gruber from Allo Allo doing on Seinfeld?
Well, see, I'm the other way around. I saw an episode of Doc Martin where Sigourney Weaver was on, and I'm like, how did that happen?
No, and I used to, when I was 7, I watched a British cop show called Dempsey and Makepeace, and they sent an American. There was an exchange program. They sent an American there to work, and he always wanted to use a gun. He's an American actor who lives in the UK. His name is Michael Brandon. He played the senator on the Captain America: First Avenger.
Okay.
The Day Today, Jam, and Brass Eye are all must-sees. Haven't seen any of them.
Are those shows? Oh, I'm sitting here. Sherlock. I watched the new Sherlock. That might have been the last British show I'm really up to date on. Sorry.
Oh, I've been watching, speaking of British Ghosts, I've been watching the American and the British one. They're both
okay. Is it worth watching? Because they're popping up on everything. I have like Peacock, and I have some.
It's a solid sitcom. I like both the British and the American one. Sometimes I switch between them and forget which ghosts go with which country.
Right.
But there's like 4 seasons of the British one. In one season, they just started season 2 of the American one. And there's like the same amount of episodes already. Because the American one has like 20 episodes the first season. The British one has 6 episodes a season.
The one that got me, and I finished it just because there was that many episodes, was Coupling. Like, I think around the time Coupling came out, we got
that one.
We got BBC America like 20 years ago. I don't know, right? And Coupling was, I think, coming to an end. I don't know. I'm not really. But anyway, what got me is that it was like a blatant, this is our version of Friends. Like, no apologies, nothing, They did their own thing.
That's what it was, but I never.
Well, they did an American version of Coupling. So I'm sitting here like you're doing a ripoff of a ripoff, and you're, I was like, oh my gosh.
Rich Fulcher from Boosh did a show called Snuffbox, which is great. Only 6 episodes, I think.
Oh, cool.
Didn't Couplings become Friends? Yeah. No, Friends.
Friends was first.
Ghost Watch, a BBC special, is great to watch on Halloween.
Oh, it's funny.
One of my favorite BBC shows of all time came out like, I don't know, 15 years ago now, called The Smoking Room. And it was there's just like 2 seasons of it. I don't know, 10 episodes a season. It was like a half-hour sitcom show about people. It took place in an office, people in the smoking room sitting around talking. Comedy, and that's still one of my favorites.
There's all sorts of
nobody knows about.
Yeah, I have access to all sorts of British shows, right. With this Roku streaming and all this stuff, and they're actually starting to get their own categories since we got BritBox. Right. So a lot of these streaming services have lost the British show because you're supposed to subscribe to BritBox.
Right.
So, but I don't know. But we might have talked about this before. When I saw Infinity War and Endgame, it killed me because they had 2 actors who both played Sherlock Holmes, and nobody said no shit Sherlock to each other. Like, it was right there. I was like dying, just waiting.
You and everybody else. They didn't give it that. There's some fan service they didn't give us.
Well, it writes itself. Anybody, it just that's the line that it's not an epiphany. It's just it's obvious.
Good evening, Mind the Comics. He's just dropping by to say hi on a weekend long wedding. Woohoo! Hit the bar.
Well,
let's bring it back to a comic for a moment, just to say this is the 4th and last issue of Mind Management Bootleg, which has been good. It's a continuation of the Mind Management, or a relaunch kind of the Matt Kindt Mind Management series with a different artist every issue, all 4 issues. And this one's got Jill Thompson doing a really nice job. She really used, when I just flipped by these pages and saw all the white, I went, eh. But
it works.
It's really she really did a good job.
Well,
let me make myself bigger so you can see. She really did the storytelling really worked with them in this white room.
Is she doing watercolor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. Let me just give it another look. Yeah, it looks like watercolor. I think all of these, or a lot of these issues, have been watercolor. But at the end, it says, what does it say? We need never the end, even though I guess it's only 4 issues. And this is I guess they were just testing out. This is Matt Kindt's imprint, I think, Flux House.
Yeah.
But he's been doing a lot of work for Bad Idea too, who I've been doing the production for. So I don't know what he's going to be doing for Flux House.
I think the last stuff I've got of Jill Thompson are the little kid books she did of Delirium and The Endless, for Vertigo. And then she was on Beast of Burden with Dorkin, Evan Dorkin. And I really think and I've actually seen her on some obscure channels doing a live show with some people while she was working, and she never announced what was funny is she figured out a way to set her camera up where you can see her hand doing watercolor.
Right.
And she had found a round rear view mirror off of an old truck or something, and she set it down to where you could see her face beside of her artwork. So she was watching him through the mirror. She never announced what she was working on or where it was coming out. And I swear, I think it was like some anniversary for a DC hero or something. I never saw it. I looked for it. That's the last time I saw her or seen any of her newer work come out, Mm-hmm. So tonight, to kind of chill out, I've been doing a little bit of actual novel reading, right? I'm catching up on Tales of Riverworld.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Philip Jose Farmer's Riverworld, but
I know of it, but I've never read it.
Well, he's got 2. But this is a bunch of short stories, so you don't have to go through the whole anthology there or everything that's going on. But he wrote 2 stories in here. The second story in here is 6 pages long, and it's Dante who wrote Dante's Inferno. And I never realized it, but the Pope that he put in Dante's Inferno, not like I'm a real big expert and scholarly guy when it comes to that. I've read Dante's Inferno, but like it was like 30 years ago, and I never went back, and I did it for school. You follow me? But the Pope that he has in there was actually alive. So in Riverworld, everybody who's ever been alive has woken up, and they're all in one place. You know, one big world that has one great big river going around it and stuff. That Pope tracked him down, and threw him in a hole. And he makes his followers act like dogs and crawl around and defecate on him for a year.
Sleepy Reader's got your Jill Thompson answer here. May have been in the Wonder Woman anniversary special a year or so back.
I would say that's it. That would make perfect sense. And I can almost see it in my head, like where she was painting it. It looked like she was in, it looked like it was some kind of party or something. There was ribbons in the room and stuff. It looks like it was going on hell. Well, I've been reading this. And then I'm catching up on the Grindel Omnibus, the first one. Okay. Again, I'm getting totally get why people are into Grindel, right. But it's like Hunter Rose is too perfect. It's like that Batman trapping. And the last live stream I did, I showed some Sandman Mystery Theater real quick that I picked up. And I think it was Gore Vidal. It was either Earl Grey or Gore Vidal, and I'm pretty sure it was Gore Vidal. Got me thinking there for a minute. It actually like messed up my thought process. Right. But he said that Wesley Dodds Sandman is the antithesis of Hunter Rose Grindel, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, like.
But that's also what made Grindel special, especially in those early stories, because he was seemingly perfect, but he was the villain, and the hero Argent was very far from, everybody saw him, he was the hero, and everybody saw him as the villain because he was this wolf-like character who everybody
he took the Beowulf and actually got a little on the nose with the wolf formation stuff, and I'm just kind of like, okay. I mean, it's interesting to read after hearing everybody really hype it up and love it over the decades.
Did you get into the Christine Spar stories?
I have those. Go ahead.
Those are in the second omnibus. The first omnibus gets the Hunter Rose stories. So after Devil by the Deed, they print the stories from Red, White, and Black, and Black, White, and Red.
Yeah,
which were made after, but feature Hunter Rose.
They're not how they. I've never read. What's weird is the Hunter Rose stories were like interspersed over the years.
Yeah,
with other stories, so it must be completely different reading them all at once for the first time.
Yeah, and I accept that. I get that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You know,
I'm just saying it might. It might be too much Hunter Rose.
Yeah. Well, I have the Kamiko. I have like the first, I don't have the first issue, but the Kamiko series where we have 3 different Grindels going for a while. Right. Is that right? The first 12 are the lady you were talking about. And then you got like,
then on 1 to 12. 13 to 15 is her boyfriend, Brian Lee Sung.
Yeah.
16 to 19, it's the commissioner going nuts.
And then it goes...
Then it goes to the far future. The 2023 already calls the incubation period. There's no Grindel, although the figure appears differently.
After the guy, didn't we have those? We switched back for 2 issues to Hunter Rose that he told in those little teeny tiny panels.
Yeah, that was Tim Sale, I think, doing those.
No,
Wagner was doing them. You're right. It was Wagner. Yeah,
and I think I have those. They're in that one, right? They're in that.
I think they're like, I think it's like around 24, issue 24, 25 or something.
It's 16 to 19. So so being the only survivor from the period where Christine Spar was Grindel, the commissioner becomes famous writing Grindel as a novelist, writing Hunter Rose stories. Yeah. So that's why those are from his imagination. But then he starts going nuts because he sees Grindel.
Okay.
Yep. But I mean, I get why people were reading this and getting it. It's very grounded. It's very grounded and it's very corrupt. I kind of get it. You know, it's sort of like a guilty pleasure or something, or you could fantasize about having power over people and twisting them your way. I don't know. It's
some of the stuff from later on is really like I remember the Grendel Shadow story from a few years ago was pretty good stuff.
Well, that's it. The crossovers are what I read and grabbed over there. But the Grindel Shadow, I just had the first issue, and I'm going to a comic book. That's why I'm down here. There's a comic book convention down here. I'm not in New York. I know people were wondering. No, but the Grindel Shadow. But see, Grindel, the first Grindels I read were the Grindel Batman, and I didn't realize that both parts of those came out several years apart. Those really grabbed me. Those were really good.
Yeah, what's good about Grendel and crossovers is he's not a hero; he's the villain.
Yeah.
So it's an automatic. Whoever's crossing over with him automatically has a good villain to fight.
Yeah, and you have you got a lot of backstory with Grendel.
Right.
What grabbed me about I just now realize I've said the same thing about what I'm about to say. Here's probably where I got it from, though, when I talk about Sandman Mystery Theater. Right. The first issue, the Grendel Saint. Oh, no.
Chris left us.
Okay. Is that
an Irish goodbye?
Did I talk too much or something? No. Okay. But anyway, I remember when Grendel landed in the 30s, 1930s there or something, he was describing the world. And I'm like, Matt Wagner is describing the Sandman Mystery Theater, New York, or whatever it is, that in the same way. He's talking about smelling the lead in the gasoline and all this stuff and the noises. And I was like, it's almost like Matt Wagner can paint a picture where he can trick you into thinking he was really in that decade.
Yeah.
You know?
And said, I'm here mention that Netflix already canceled the Grendel series before it even aired.
Yeah.
They cast it. And 62 Lefty Dudes, we did see that Kim Jong-gi passed away at 47.
He was just 47
earlier. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, I actually had my insomnia going, and I followed his page on Facebook, and I found it 7 minutes after they posted it. And it was like 4 a.m. where I'm at, and I was like, "Well, that's just a shitty way to wake up." But I can't believe he was just 47. I would watch his streams with him drawing and stuff.
And another young, actually, there's 3. Chris just told Drew Ford, who was, I think, 48. He was an editor for Dover and for It's Alive Books, his own imprint. He's the one who did the Puma Blues book.
Oh, really?
He edited the Sam Glasman books, brought those back to press. And what other ones did you say? The Sax Romer's Dope.
By Trina Robbins.
Robbins.
He did another one of Trina Robbins's graphic novels, and he got some old Epic and Vertigo stuff from the early '90s that was out of print. So he got it into print. He also did the first thing he did before, just big alongside the Sam Glasman stuff, was a full collection of Aztec Ace.
Right.
And I didn't buy it because it was $70.
And Chris just mentioned Vincent, what's his last name?
Kukua.
Vincent Kukua, who's a production artist for Image Comics all these years.
Yeah.
Just died too. So there was like a bunch of people dying young this week in comic books. It's like, whoa. But yeah, the King Jung-ji his videos used to go viral of him drawing.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I know him from.
Yep. That's the only way I know him is from things going viral, and then the Facebook page. I was watching the live streams. It was just mesmerized me. I remember a couple years ago they had I don't know if it was a comic convention or what it was, but he was on stage with Jim Lee, and I actually felt bad for Jim Lee there for a minute because by the end of it, people who were there live were demanding that those two have a little drawing competition on the spot, and I'm like, that's not very cool.
What Kim Jong-gi does is what I call performance drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole point of it is to put on a performance, and if you don't know how to do that, you're not going to beat his performance. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's another guy, and I hate to refer to him as guy because I just watch his videos and he speaks in, I think he's Korean, but he's a watercolor guy. So I would watch him doing his thing, and then it would be followed up in my stream, of a guy doing watercolors with one brush, making these fantastic little watercolor things. And it was like watching a Korean Mr. Rogers. I don't know what he was saying, but it was very soothing. I'm like,
but that's like, performance drawing. That's different than kind of, you have to know how to draw to do it, but it's a separate skill you have to learn besides drawing.
Yeah.
It's how to draw as a performance kind of thing.
See, I've seen guys do things where I can't remember what they were doing, but like they would be on like shows like That's Impossible and stuff when I was a kid, and they would have a name for what they were about to do, but they would have like a black sheet of paper,
right,
and he would sit there and he would act like he was having an art attack or something.
Oh yeah,
it would just be he'd smear paint and stuff like that, and then when he flipped the picture over, it was like John Lennon, like
Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's performance. They had to practice that.
Right.
They didn't just come up with that on the spot. But though Kim Jong-gi came up with his stuff on the spot, but it's still a performance. Yeah. You have to learn to draw a certain way.
He would talk a lot about everything he did was from memory. He would memorize things. He was just constant. The way he described it, as I remember, is that he would constantly be looking at everything, and he would be memorizing like their shape in his head and everything.
Yeah.
Of whatever he was looking at and the angles and stuff. And he said it was repetition and memory,
Right.
So
you have to. Well, first of all, he had to know how to draw. That's like that's not an easy step one.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn how to turn that drawing into a performance, and all performance is practice and memory, and it looks like magic to us, but it's not. It's he worked out how to draw spontaneously before, like Sergio Aragonés can do that too.
Yep.
He can. He's famous for his. I've never seen him do it. I've only heard of it. Where once again, he'll be at a con with a big piece of paper, and people just shout out stuff for him to draw, and he'll just draw it.
Well, it's funny we're talking about this because it just popped in my head. But what's Frank Miller's new little company's doing? Frank Miller Presents, right? That's what it's called.
First step is a bitch. That's right. That first step is learn how to draw.
Yeah.
We want to think it's genius, not hard work, Jared. Exactly.
But this is so funny because this is on here. Like, I don't want anybody to leave now, but go to Instagram and do the Frank Miller Presents after this.
Right.
And it's in their reels, or is it stories or reels on Instagram? I have no shame not really keeping up with this, but it's probably their story, right? A reel or something. But Frank Miller cracked me up. This is probably about 4:00. I saw this today, right? So on his little reel, he's like, I'm going to do my impersonation of Jack Kirby drawing. So he's got the camera here. He's got like his board here. And he goes, here's what Jack Kirby would do. Now he said, this is my impersonation of Jack Kirby drawing. He would make these little points here on his paper. And then he would start here. And as he would draw, he couldn't do it. He said he's going to show you how Jack Kirby drew an impersonation. And then when he got started, he couldn't do it. And it was like unintentionally hilarious. Like he was sitting here like Jack Kirby would have a full-fledged penciled side pencil and everything. And all he's done is like drawn a little profile like this big. Talk about how grand Jack Kirby's drawing would be as he started from one corner down to the next, I'm like, that's not an impersonation.
This comment reminds me of there's a cartoon I've seen posted on Facebook over and over where person coming up to the artist going, wow, that's so amazing, you can draw, I don't know how to do it, it's like magic. And the artist goes, no, it's hard work. And then the person goes, no, it's amazing that you have such God-given talent. Yeah, he was like, no, it's practice and hard work. It's like, oh, I don't know how you do it. It's so amazing. He's like, it's practice and hard work. And it's like the person never gets it who wants it to be magic.
Romanticized.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'm probably be flipping through, and I've been trying to get through this. I don't know if you guys remember the Vertigo years there in the early late 90s, but Vertigo had the Children's Crusade right when Neil Gaiman was actually starting to become like a name, really get popular. So he came up with 2 bookends stories of getting all the kids in their Vertigo books, so that the rest of the story could be the annuals for those books. You follow what I'm saying? Doom Patrol, you had like Dorothy because she was the kid of the group. Animal Man's Annual was his daughter, and all this stuff. They're all meeting up in this, right? Free Country. This is written by Neil Gaiman, and it's the most boring shit I think I've read in years. Like I got it on eBay. I want to say for like $1.75 or maybe $3. I think it was $1.75. Seriously. Hardback, I might be wrong. I can go back and look, but I'm so glad I got it that cheap. The sad thing is I wanted to read this entire story since it came out. There was 1 or 2 annuals I couldn't find, and I'm like, this is ASMR comics. This is amazing.
I've waited this long for.
Yeah. So to make up for it, I was with Astro City from day one when it came out back in '95. I have framed the promotional poster in the comic book shop that's only open for a year. I mean, it was one of the few times I looked at a comic book shop owner and said, I didn't ask for something or say, can I sign up for this poster? I went, I'll be taking this. But this is more one of my. This could possibly be. I don't know. This one and Tainted Angel, I'll go back and forth with the greatest stories, but this is the Astro City Confessions.
Was Tainted Angel the one with
Robert Mitchum?
Robert.
Yes,
Mitchum. I think that was. There was also one with a turtle that I like. A turtle guy that I liked.
The mock turtle. Yeah,
I think that was. I maybe it was Tainted. I can't remember. I think it was Tainted Angel that I liked a lot. I haven't read it in so long.
Yeah. Well, this one I could never put my finger on it, like what it was that made me feel familiar. But basically, I would keep going back in mind of an old I would think it was some old black and white movie I probably saw, right? But this kid comes out of the country off the farm and he goes to the big city because he wants to become a superhero. And Kurt Busiek does this really cool thing is that we see the city through the kid's eyes. And he gets a job as a dishwasher or something at like, the little biker bar. And that's where you have all your Punisher types, all your, all your street level heroes. And then he moves up to a waitering job where you get to see all the playboys hanging out, like your Bruce Waynes and your Tony Starks, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of thought that was cool, but I was always trying to figure out what movie this reminded me of, right? But it turns out it's not a movie. Right. This has put me in the mind of Bob Dylan going to Greenwich Village and then tracking down, was it Arlo Guthrie? Was that the first Guthrie from the 40s?
Woody and Arlo, right?
I get Arlo and Woody. I don't listen to the music.
Woody's the father, right?
Right.
The son.
So Bob Dylan tracked down the Guthrie guy that was like, he loved his music that, everybody had forgotten about. He tracked him down to like some, old folks home in Long Island, and that's what this reminds me of. That's what it's. I always have associated comics and rock and roll and punk music and stories like that they connect to my mind. So yeah, since the '90s, I've been like, what is this movie? I know this is a movie. No, it's Bob Dylan tracking down old Woody there.
Let's see what King Spode has. It's funny in that way. You're trained to draw really affects the way you see. Yeah. I got the Beaux Art style in architectural school. It makes it easy to draw what I see. Difficult from imagination. Okay. That's who was it? Marshall Rogers was he went to architecture school too. So if you look at especially early 70s Marshall Rogers, his buildings are all complicated and well drawn. His figures, it took him a while to get his figures down. But he could always draw the buildings well because he went to architectural school.
I can't stop.
That's the story I was told.
Do you remember? I want to say Alter Ego magazine took it and made it one of the covers, but he did this fantastic. I don't even know what to call it. It should have been like a poster. It was so fantastic. You can see his architecture skills coming through because I remember it was a picture with like Uncle Sam and all these DC heroes. I'd have to look it up and share it to say what I wanted to say about it. I'll move on. Now I want to talk about
comic I got of the week. It's Time Before Time, number 17. That's funny. When a comic gets to issue 17 now, it's like, wow, that's a lot of issues.
It's an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been good. This is the one that's about time travel. but 2 criminal syndicates run time travel. And they're like mafias running time travel, and like it's not widely known within the worlds that there's time travel, but they'll send you back in time for a price so you can escape whatever you're escaping. And in this one, and the very in issue 1 of this story, one of the guys who runs a time travel machine for the mafia, and it ain't that good a job running a time travel machine for the mafia, because they keep you under their thumb, and every time you think you're out from from under their thumb, your debt goes up a little bit for some reason. And they also, it costs money to shield you from the radiation of time travel, so they don't always want to spend that money. So by this time, like, our lead character from the beginning is dying of some radiation sickness from time travel, and he's looking to the future. He's like been in the future, going to doctors, trying to get them to secure, to cure them. They haven't been able to so far. Meanwhile, the other character from the very beginning was an FBI agent searching for her. Like the time travel syndicates are such scumbags that this family of 4, mother, father, 2 kids, purchased. This is like in issue 1. Bought like some escape to the past. But when it came time to go, the mafia was like, whoa, it's going to cost more money than that. So they only sent 2 of them to the past. Like the mother and the daughter, the younger daughter, and the father and the their older kid didn't get to go to the past, but they were going to get some money and go there immediately. Cut to 20 years later, the father's dead, the daughter's full-grown FBI agent, still trying to go to the past to find her parents. So that's what to find her sister and mother. So that's her story that's been going on these 72 issues. So it's been like, and meanwhile, there's like guys there's Muscle from the Syndicate trying to hunt them down, and we've had all sorts of side stories. It's been a really good series. I've enjoyed this one. And hopefully we'll get another 17 issues out of it, because they keep coming up with new stories to tell, which is the mark of some talented guys. There's Rory McConville and Declan Shalvey who are writing it, and they've had different artists. Let's see, who's the artist this issue? Because they just got this guy the last couple of issues. Eric Zawadski. Zawaddzki. He does a pretty good job. Have you gotten to draw any comics lately, Chris?
No, just the webcomic.
Just the webcomic. For those of you who don't know, Chris has got a webcomic. Where's it at? ChrisGComics.com?
Yeah, or ChrisGeruso.com.
Or ChrisGeruso.com. If you can spell Geruso. Since he doesn't even have it in his name. I at least have
if you can get
in my name.
Yeah, if you can get close on a Google search, you should be able to find my website.
Sure they won't bring him to Chris Eliopoulos?
No, I'm not. I'm not entirely sure. Could happen.
It could happen. Bought any new comics lately, Tim?
Nah. I had a little bit of not new today, but last week I stopped at a little honey pot. Got up on a Sunday.
Yeah, I missed you. I didn't get to watch your haul video from last Sunday. So
did I make one last Sunday? I didn't think I made one.
Whatever your last one was, I didn't get to watch it.
But I turned around, and for like $2 a piece, I found a whole bunch of Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, like 302, 303, 304. And then I found that Batman Todd McFarlane cover that everybody's going nuts over, like 423 or something. Found it for $2. Newsstand.
Did you notice the mistake in that cover?
No. I had the cover. I had the book when it came out.
Todd McFarlane showed it to us.
Okay.
He was like, "Do you want to see the mistake in this cover?" He's like, "If you don't want to see it, don't look, because you'll never be able to not see it again." What it is when you look at the cover, it's got a yellow background, right?
Right.
But there's one part where Batman's cape comes up like at a point and kind of connects with his cowl.
Okay.
And there's a little part of the background right here above his shoulder that's supposed to be colored yellow, but was left white. The color separator just missed it somehow. So there's a little part, it's only about like a half-inch square right on his shoulder that's supposed to be yellow, and it's white. And sure enough, you can never not see it after you know it's there.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
I didn't pick up Briar. The art by Germain Garcia is spectacular. I don't know that one. Anybody?
I don't know. I just see it. But there's I've been having this fascination with I've been having this, oh, go ahead.
No, I just said he liked it.
Yeah.
That's all.
But I've been having this fascination with miniseries and maxi series of the 80s, the ones I skipped or sort of wanted. I completed The Wanderers, and if you don't know what The Wanderers is, they were like this obscure Jim Shooter superhero group that he stuck in like an issue of the Legion of Superheroes when he was doing them. Mm-hmm. And they popped up here and there, and they just went ahead, Doug Munch, like just redid all of them in story. They're like clones of themselves, right? But the series became infamous because it ran 13 issues instead of 12. But in one issue, one of the heroes is a shape changer, and they were on a planet to where these dinosaur creatures, these raptor-looking creatures, were about to go extinct. So he shapeshifted into a male of the raptor species and had sex with it, impregnated it, and then they left. It was one of those things. Comic Spectacular didn't cover it. I don't remember it popping up in Wizard a couple years later, but you would be in comic book shops and everybody'd be like, there'd be like, it was almost like an urban legend. People could not believe they'd do something like that. And they did.
Well, that just reminds me, you hunting for back issues. Who was it? Don the comic book junkie found New Mutants 87 in a dollar bin at a flea market.
Yeah, it's out there, guys. I mean, it's out there. Yeah.
He was just like the guy had he said it was a new guy at the flea market he hadn't seen before. He was even going to pass it by that day, but he went in anyway to look. And he said he was looking through, and the guy had a bunch of the New Mutants in there, and he fully expected 87 to not be there.
Yeah. And
he was like, whoa. So he ended up getting them all, just of course. But it's like, I don't see that every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's what gets me is that it's just it's really odd. These things are still out there. You're still going to see some people out there digging through the boxes and stuff, but people stay online so much and are shopping through eBay trying to look for bargains and stuff that it just blows my mind. It's still out there. At yard sales, you need to ask the people if they have comics. A lot of people won't put their comics out because of the sun or kids or space.
One of the editors who used to be at Marvel in the 90s, Barry Dutter, he makes his living now. He lives in Southern California. He resells comics.
Yeah.
He goes on Craigslist. He said the competition out there to buy the comics is fierce. There's a lot of resellers. But Southern California has a lot of people moving in and moving out. So there's always comic books up for sale from people who are moving away.
Yeah, I consider the Craigslist hunters and stuff like what I'm talking about online, eBay, online and stuff. If you just go out there and just put yourself out there a little bit.
Garage sales too, and any place, because they advertise. A lot of people advertise their garage sale online, and they'll say comic books or not, or whole clubs they have comic books. But sometimes he goes there and there's the garage sale starts at 10 a.m. and there's him and 4 other resellers got there at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody was already there half an hour before them and bought all the comics.
Sometimes that's me. My friends make fun of me. Yeah. Actually, one of the buddies I'm meeting tomorrow down here at this comic book convention in Boone, he was, right in front of me. He was sitting there with his wife. We were all eating dinner, and he was like, "Yeah, we go to this comic book convention like in Salem, West Virginia, or Salem, Virginia." And he's like, it's kind of funny if you go with Tim, because if you want to be late, he'll sit there and start going, I can feel people going through my comics, Tim. Like, I can feel their fingers going through my comics while we're late. So, yeah, they make fun of me on this one. Yeah.
You leave them behind, they won't be late again. We had one friend who used to be late all the time. And we're like, Ed, what happened? What are you late? He's like, well, I figure if someone's going to wait for someone, you may as well wait for me. From then on in, we left him behind.
Yeah.
Now, he was just not late again after that. After we left him behind, he stopped being late.
Yeah. Like when I hit Hillsville Flea Market, that's the one where the whole town gets turned into a flea market.
Right.
Some of the vendors, it's obvious, they're there every year, and then you'll know to be looking for the white comic book boxes and stuff. Right. But sometimes you've got to get in there and you got to look behind stuff where you wouldn't think it is, because people will put out their whatnots, and then right behind the whatnots, you'll have a stack of comics that thick for $1 a piece and things like that. That's where I found like Shazam, whatever it is, 28, that second appearance of Black Adam from the 70s. I found it for $2 by doing that and stuff.
I wonder if those new graphic comic book boxes make them easier to spot or harder to spot from far away.
I actually don't. I know very few people that actually get those. A lot of people don't like them, but I never asked why.
It's going to take years for those to trickle down to like the flea market guys.
I don't know. I don't like them. I personally don't like them. If you damage them, it's the whole box is ruined. Right. If you lay one box on top of them and a corner hits the wrong way, I'm just too OCD.
I have no interest in paying extra for them if I get any.
Yeah,
I don't usually buy too many comic boxes since I have shelves, but I do have some of them.
Maybe we'll find the boxes at flea markets at some point. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like buy the boxes themselves.
A pallet of comic book boxes.
Be perfect. So that and some treasury editions. Yeah.
The graphic design comic book, because I gotta imagine there's pallets of them in some warehouse somewhere. Overstock. There's always overstock of all sorts of stuff.
Oh man! So has there been like any comic book news that's caught anybody eye?
This week was all about the deaths.
Yeah,
that's and the only comic book. Oh, remember we were talking about Mike Martz last week, leaving Aftershock Comics, and I said he had to have his next job lined up. He had his next job lined up. He's now the publisher. I don't know if he's the editor-in-chief publisher of that company that just bought Paper Cuts. That I have no idea who they are. Mad Cave Studios. I'm like, who are these guys? They must have. I mean, they bought Paper Cuts, so they must have some money, and they just hired Mike Martz away from Aftershock, where I'm sure he was making good money because he went from being the Batman editor to the Aftershock editor-in-chief. So they must have paid him well for him to give up that Batman job. I mean, who does? You don't give up being the Batman editor unless you get a better paying job. So who are these Mad Cave Studio guys that they got money for Mike Martz and to buy Paper Cuts? I don't know, but that's what we were talking about last week was Mike Martz leaving Aftershock. So
I hadn't seen their stuff solicited. Like I go through my previews.
Yeah, I think I may have seen a book or two by them at some point, but I don't know.
And whatever happened to this website where the web comics were going to come out? They got that Scott Snyder and a lot of other people went to.
Substack?
I hadn't heard nothing. I don't know anybody that's getting it.
I've seen stuff published from them.
Okay.
But I never hear any news about them.
That's what I'm getting at.
Never,
it's like
ever.
I hear nobody talking about them, reading them, or anything.
No.
But the announcements were huge.
Yeah. Well, that's because they paid comic book writers a lot of money, and comic book writers don't usually see that much money.
It's like there's a subculture of reading going on.
I've run across Mad Cave Comics just once or twice. Yeah. And I don't. It's like they must have some angel investors or something.
Man, I'm getting all sporadic here. You could rein me in, but Disney Plus. Did you watch The Werewolf by Night? I watched it at noon today.
Oh, did that land? I did not see it.
Yeah, it came out at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, 3 or 4 or whatever.
I haven't watched it. I'll check it out though.
I found it's all right, but what's driving me crazy is that when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, "This is Mike Ploog universe." Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, I got my Ploog finally, and I was just expecting other people to be like, "Oh wow, it's Mike Ploog stuff," and I never saw it, and I'm like, "Is it me? Is it just me?" I just that weird.
I have no. Well, that what amazed me too when last December when Hawkeye came out and was big. It's like David Aja barely got a mention.
Yeah.
Despite the whole beginning being swiped from his artwork.
Well, what I did is when it was playing, Disney Plus will, when it gets to the credits after a little bit, it'll go up into the corner and tell you what to watch next. And I go back to read the credits and stuff. And it had Roy Thomas, another Thomas. I can't think of his name. Is it Jerry? You say Jerry Conway or Gary Conway? I've said it Gary for
Conway.
Jerry Conway, Mike Ploog. Those are the four. There was Roy Thomas and another Thomas, and then underneath those four main guys, it had Dan Abnett and quite a few other people under there. They were thanking for what was in there and stuff, right? But it's definitely worth watching. But it finally put my finger on why I'm not into these Marvel TV shows and stuff. It's
you can't wait to watch that one.
I loved it. The atmosphere, the stylistic stuff. The guy who directed it also did the score, and he captured a little bit of those Universal movie moments. If you're into that stuff. But Man Thing, Man Thing looked exactly how he should have looked. Okay. And I'm not going to spoil anything. Maybe after everybody's watched it and stuff, right? But it was just fun to see this. But I finally put my finger on what's going on with the Marvel movies and stuff. As the years go by, they feel more like Disney movies and Disney properties than they do Marvel movies and Marvel properties. Okay, I don't know how to. They're getting a little bit overproduced and really refined, and there was some gore in this, but it was all black and white. So. But it was fun. It was a fun 55 minutes. Now it's the kind of thing that I'm probably going to fast forward to see the parts I liked, So it was somebody who the guy that wrote it and did the musical score and everything like that. You can tell this was like a labor of love,
Mad Cave is a bunch of releases. Just check the. Yeah, I just haven't seen any. I'm like, what are they?
I'm at Mad Cave's CEO's LinkedIn, and he lists absolutely nothing between taking his bachelor's degree in business management and graduating in 2001 and starting Mad Cave in 2014. I mean, it's like 14 years not doing anything.
Huh.
So either he was doing something shifty or he's a trust fund kid.
Yeah. That is weird.
The Tony Khan of he's the Tony Khan of comics, maybe. We'll see how many people get that reference. Yeah.
Disney will turn everything you love into Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy.
I mean, I know that's funny what he's saying, but that's what I'm starting to see, the tone of it and everything. It's it's like they're taking out the Kirby and replacing it with Walt Disney.
I'm looking at Mad Cave's list of comic series, and I've never seen a single one in comic shops. And he's got like 4 comic shops he goes to.
Yeah, and like I have a I have my online store that I use, but I'm checking out another one. They're starting to. I've got books I haven't. I've got like Hawk the Slayer 2, 3, and 4, and they never sent me number 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been looking around. I have never seen Man Cave Comics solicited at either store that I'm looking at.
Terrence is voting for Shifty for 14 years. Except Nottingham. Okay, there's one. Nottingham. I guess Nottingham is a Mad Cave Studio book that people have heard of. That may have been the one I saw, too. I think I looked through one and put it back. I don't remember.
I want to be looking for them. I'm just going to see if I can find a comic by them tomorrow, just so I can say I have one of theirs in my collection somewhere.
Because like when it was announced this summer that they bought Paper Cuts, I was like, I thought I would have guessed that Paper Cuts was a bigger company than Mad Cave Studios was, because I know Paper Cuts has been around for years, has been doing stuff for years, has licenses that they've produced for a long time. That's who Wilson works for, Paper Cuts. He does lettering and coloring for them. So and as far as I know, I'm like, Mad Cave Studios bought them? How's that possible? I didn't know they did anything.
Shifty.
Yeah, they bought Paper Cuts. That's a pretty big publisher in the kids' book market. Yeah, Paper Cuts is. I would have guessed that Paper Cuts could buy Mad Cave Studios, not the other way around. But I guess we really know nothing about Mad Cave Studios. So our big Comic-Con is coming up in a few weeks. Kind of looking forward to it. Cool.
Even Forbes did an article on Mad Cave buying Paper Cuts. So let's see what I have here.
Wow.
That's right. Forbes put the article out. It's like, how does Forbes get a hold of that?
And why would they care? Unless
why in a million years would Forbes care about one little comic book company buying another? Unless it's not as little as we thought.
You keep asking questions, you're going to have the secret comic book Illuminati knocking on your door at 3 in the morning. I can hear it now.
Yeah. Mr. Fantastic's going to show up at my door.
Mm.
Maybe Mad Cave will be publishing Chris Girusso in a few months. Let's hope so. Tim, have you read any Black Hammer?
I am currently going to be giving Black Hammer another shot. The only Black Hammer books that I have are the Black Hammer meets the Justice League. And it just felt so depressing reading that freaking book with some of those characters. So I'm going to give it a second shot because I disappointed quite a few people, like when I made my big Black Hammer statement,
If I can remember, Sleepy Reader and Travis also were both into Black Hammer way back when. And I read a few issues, and it was one of those things where it was well done, but I was just so tired of superhero stories that are thinly veiled versions of other superheroes.
Well, yeah, I think we talked about that, but there was one that I didn't realize was part of the Black Hammer books universe. Because I read it as it was told to be a love letter to for the 90s Starman. I think it was Dr. Star. I got it and loved it. It still had that little twinge of real world depression moments, consequences, terrible. You know what I mean? Like he went in, where he traveled through space. His kids grew up without him. You know what I mean? I'm like, that kind of bothered me. But yeah. And they even made him look like James Robinson, the guy who wrote it. So, yeah.
62 Lefty Blues read the omnibus and liked it a lot.
Well,
Such a love letter to the DC Silver Age.
Okay.
Sleepy Reader loved Black Hammer until he got tired of it as they stretched out the main story too far out.
They're still in the barn, aren't they? They're still in the barn. No.
So the Forbes article was written by an idiot. And the only thing intelligent here says, for Mad Cave Studios, a relatively new addition to the comics publishing landscape that has just started to make inroads in the direct market with fantasy adventure titles like Nottingham, Woven Heart, and Stargazer, acquiring a known and trusted brand was a shrewd way to gain instant credibility in the space. It also more than doubled the size of the company and added significantly to Mad Cave's catalog of titles.
All right. Yeah. I'm changing my answer from Trust Fund Kid to what Comic Crack said after hearing that.
14 years.
And this guy's working for Forbes, and he's an idiot. It's like I understand that.
Doesn't it just sound like what's the name of the company?
Mad Cave Studios.
Yeah, doesn't it just sound like Mad Cave had contacts at Forbes and basically paid them to put this article out saying we're this incredible company, it's amazing what we've just done.
Yes. So that would have to be whoever's financing it.
He is printing the press release. He has to pay to play for that Forbes coverage. Must be.
Exactly.
An idiot for 14 years.
It's just a matter of time before somebody gets on Shark Tank and says, I have a comic book idea. It's just a matter of time, you know.
The thing is, I'm kind of used to the comics press not to be business savvy. So, and especially, we don't care where the money comes from or where it goes, as long as comics exist for us to enjoy. Yeah. But
that's the modern media disguises an advertisement into an article. Yeah, how often do you see, Forbes articles quoted on Bleeding Cool News? Not that often.
You still go to Bleeding Cool News? I'm impressed.
Well, the only reason I don't actually go there, I just clicked on the link that said that Paper Cuts was being bought. That's why I was like, what? Because Jim Salicrup, who's one of the one of the owners of, I know him from my Marvel days, so I was like, what? So of course I had to check it out. And
as I get older, I appreciate what he did on Spider-Man and at Topps Comics. As I get older, looking back on some of that stuff.
Yep.
So, Jared, are you not going to New York Comic Con? I just realized in my mind, it's all together.
I completely whiffed on it this year. Like last year, I remember I was thinking about going, so I actually applied in the summer for a professional badge, which just means you can buy one. They don't give you one. And then they're like, oh yeah, you can get a professional badge. The deadline for paying for it is the end of August. And I was just like, I don't really know if I want to go. And so I let it go by and didn't buy the badge and didn't go. And this year I just never thought of it. I was just kind of like New York Comic Con somehow just never entered my mind to go there. And then there's like tonight, there's some people where Wilson is right now is there's some Marvel people from over the years who are getting together at a bar after the con. And I would have liked to have gone to that. I just didn't want to trudge into the city.
Yeah, I got you. I hear you. Yeah. And what you're saying is I think I'd rather be at the bar than at the con. That's
it just takes me. Keep in mind, I'm 35 miles from the bar. By public transportation, it would take me 2 hours to get there.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
Otherwise, I'd have to drive in, and it would take me 45 minutes to an hour to drive there, but I have to pay for the George Washington Bridge is $12. I don't know what parking would cost me anymore. And I'd have to drive into the city. But that would be the easy. If I was going with people from here, we'd all drive in, but there's nobody around here who would drive in.
Right.
So I would take, I take public transportation when I go to the city, and it just takes two. I'd be on the train longer than I'd be at the bar.
I hear you. Yeah.
So I'd like to be there, but Forbes Online has become weak sauce. Seems like a lot of beginning writers there. Yeah. When I was doing press for my band, I found that I wrote a funny introduction press release of the correct size. Lots of the lazy writers would just print it. That's a good thing to learn. But I think Wilson's in the Bronx, so it's just a subway ride for him, which probably still might take him an hour to get there.
That would drive me nuts. I've lived in the city. I mean, in the city twice my entire life, and wow, I mean, it just sounds like it's gotten worse when it comes to things like that.
Like I was the class I was teaching this week in the city. I usually take the train down, and for the first time ever, I take New Jersey Transit. For the first time ever, I was late to my own class because the train just took an extra 45 minutes because it was going slow. No reason, no explanation. It just took. It's supposed to. This is like I had to take it like a midday. It's tough commuting off peak too. So the off peak train from where I take it into Secaucus Junction and then Penn Station is supposed to be like an hour and 20-minute ride. It was 2 hours just because, and it's like I've had editors that expected me to just slightly rewrite press releases. Depressing. Yeah, the press releases, for the people giving out press, not for it's like just free content for who's ever publishing it. Well, we're coming to the end here.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially because I'm getting frustrated. I'm trying to find. I've been Googling Mad Cave Studios financier, Mad Cave Studios hedge fund, Mad Cave Studios capital investment. I mean, it's not like capital investment firms are that gun shy about telling them when they invest in something.
So you're trying to find out where the Mad Cave Studios money comes from, and there's nothing.
So next week's show, if 3 of the 4 people aren't here, call the police. Tell them Mad Cave Studios. So we were asking too many questions.
Chris will go, hey, I was just working. I was just silently working.
It's the people are dropping like flies anyway,
Yeah, 3 deaths this week. Maybe they were inquiring about Mad Cave Studios. Wow.
I'm just visiting on Jared's channel.
Comic book Illuminati, don't bother with Howler Mouse. She's nobody.
I got a video from like 2012 where I had a stand-up of the Men in Black, but I just had him like from the shoulders down. It acted like the Comic book Illuminati was making me say an apology for something I said back then. Yeah.
Mad Cave must be a movie incubator. I think if they were, they wouldn't have bought
paper cuts
though.
No, the investment firm would just have bought paper cuts themselves.
Yeah,
I would seriously. My guess, like uneducated at all, old school things that based on absolutely nothing, is that this thing could be some kind of tax write-off on the side or something. You know what I mean? Like,
who knows?
Yeah, it's something that is on the side, and whoever is doing this has a real business in their mind over here, but this is something on the side. I don't know, to launder or get a tax break or something like that,
Could be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can find some answers or just drop it. Well, until next time it comes up and we go, who are these guys? You know what? I'm going to ask Mike Martz, damn it. I know somebody who works for him now.
and then he's going to turn to you all sweating and nervous. Don't ask those questions.
All right. So everybody out there, have a good night. And we will catch you next week, maybe with some news from New York Comic Con. We'll see if Wilson has any firsthand reports for us. Bye-bye.
So long.
Bye.
Dude.